My wife said she needed closure with her ex, so I let her go grab coffee. But when I compared their Instagrams, I discovered a terrifying plot that ended with her arrest, and my world shattered into a million pieces. That my wife, Sarah, carries the past with her like a worn leather satchel. Familiar, comforting, but also undeniably heavy. I knew this about her when we got together. It was part of her story. We had a bond to overcome. Sarah had mentioned it to me when we first met. Yeah, I dated this one guy for a long time, she said while we were sitting on a hill. He was the one. That had concerned me. She said that it would not be an issue. Her ex, Ben, loomed large in that narrative. A charismatic artist who had swept her off her feet in college, only to break her heart a few years later. It was one of those intense, all-consuming relationships that defines a person, leaving a lasting impression long after it ends. I'm Mark, by the way, 32, and I work as a project manager, which is probably why I'm so structured. I'm steady, reliable, the kind of guy you can count on to fix a problem, to build something that lasts. Sarah is different. She's a whirlwind of creativity, a free spirit who dances to the beat of her own drum. That's part of what attracted me to her. She brought a spark of spontaneity and passion into my otherwise predictable life. We were now both 30. We'd been together for 5 years, and our life was pretty great overall, but I have always felt like I was in competition with a memory. So I suppose I just kept trying harder. Over time, I learned a lot about Ben. He was a musician, a singer-songwriter with a soulful voice and a knack for writing achingly beautiful lyrics. He was also, according to Sarah, a bit of a mess, unreliable, emotionally unavailable, and prone to self-destructive behavior. He would eventually burn out and leave her in the dust. Their relationship had ended badly, a messy breakup fueled by jealousy, insecurity, and a fundamental incompatibility of lifestyles. Sarah had been left heartbroken and disillusioned, vowing to never let herself get so consumed by another person again. And then she met me. I was stable, dependable, and utterly devoted to her. I offered her a safe harbor, a place where she could heal, grow, and build a life free from the drama and heartache of her past. For years, it seemed like that was enough. We built a comfortable life together, a quiet haven from the chaos of the world. We supported each other's dreams, celebrated each other's successes, and navigated the challenges of life with a quiet, steady love. I made sure that she was happy, that she had the perfect life, whatever that meant. But lately, I'd sensed a shift, a subtle change in Sarah's demeanor, a flicker of something I couldn't quite define in her eyes. She seemed restless, distant, almost haunted. It started a few months ago with a message from Ben. She'd called him before, but it had always been out of necessity. She even showed it to me. She said to me then, "I want to have an open and honest relationship." But then, after that, there were more. These became private. Then, she said to me that this had been taking up space in her head. Ben and her did not get a good chance to break up on good terms, and it did not resolve all that needed to be resolved. She said, "What do you want me to do?" I did not have an answer at the time, but she had already made up her mind. I simply said, "Do whatever it is that you need to do to be here with me." She later said, "I'm going to get coffee with him just to shut it down." The tone was too casual for such a significant decision, as though such a significant other could be dismissed with that much ease. I wanted to trust her. I needed to trust her. But as the weeks passed, the meetings with Ben became more frequent, and the gaps in Sarah's schedule grew wider. The unease inside me began to fester. She assured me that these meetings were strictly platonic, a chance to tie up loose ends, to gain some closure, to finally move on from her past. She claimed that she needed to resolve these feelings about my ex to be fully present in our marriage, as though her ability to love me was somehow contingent on her relationship with another man. I wanted to believe her, but it was difficult. Every stolen moment, every hushed phone call, every vague explanation chipped away at my trust, leaving me feeling insecure, resentful, and increasingly isolated. I needed to trust her, but the story she was telling me did not seem to be adding up. What was I supposed to do? Should I have faith? The weight of the past was now crushing my present, and I feared that it would soon destroy our future. All I knew was the closure with her ex-boyfriend was now taking more time. The coffee dates turned into lunches, the lunches into dinners, and the dinners into late-night phone calls that Sarah would take in hushed tones on the balcony, her silhouette a dark and mysterious figure against the city lights. I tried to ignore them, to trust that she was doing what she needed to do, but the constant secrecy was a corrosive force, eating away at my peace of mind. I started paying closer attention to her stories, searching for inconsistencies, for telltale signs of deception. She'd say she was meeting Ben at a coffee shop downtown, but I'd notice her car was parked in the opposite direction when she left. She'd claim they were just talking about old times, but her phone would buzz with text messages long after she got home, messages she'd quickly delete before I could see them. The vagueness was maddening. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being deliberately shut out, that Sarah was creating a separate reality, one where I didn't belong. The need to know the truth, to understand what was really happening between her and Ben, became an all-consuming obsession. One evening, I casually asked Sarah about her latest closure session. "So, how was coffee with Ben?" I asked, trying to keep my voice light. "Did you finally tie up all those loose ends?" She hesitated, her eyes darting nervously around the room. "It was fine," she said, her tone dismissive. "We just talked, about the past, about what went wrong. It was helpful." I pressed further, unable to resist the urge to probe. "What exactly did you talk about? What did you resolve?" She stiffened, her expression hardening. "Mark, why are you doing this? Why can't you just trust me? I told you, it's over with Ben. There's nothing to worry about. Then why are you being so secretive?" I asked, my voice rising. "Why can't you just be honest with me? What are you hiding, Sarah?" She exploded, her carefully constructed composure shattering. "I'm not hiding anything. I'm just trying to deal with my past, to move on with my life. Why can't you just support me instead of interrogating me?" The argument escalated quickly, fueled by weeks of pent-up emotions, unspoken fears, and mounting resentment. We hurled accusations, dredged up old grievances, and tore at each other with words that cut deeper than any knife. The fight ended, as they often did, with Sarah storming out of the apartment, leaving me alone and exhausted, the silence amplifying the hollowness of our failing connection. After some time to let things cool down, I called my old friend, Dave, hoping he could help ground me. I needed someone to keep me in check. "It's not looking good, man," he responded. "I know you want to trust, but she ain't helping herself out. Have you tried to contact his friends at all, or look into his life?" There was only one way to find out what was truly going on. After the call, I looked up old contacts and found out that one of them followed Ben on Instagram. I knew I needed to do it myself, so I created a fake account. I then started to follow the profile and check into his information. There wasn't much, as everything was private, but I was able to see that a lot of his family, the few that were connected to him, were in Sarah's accounts. She was still seeing his family. The following day, as Sarah was at work, I decided to be at her work to bring her lunch as a way to make up for it. But the coworker that saw me, they looked off. He whispered to me that Sarah wasn't at work, but at an art show. "How would you know?" I asked. "I'm following her on social media. It's been weird." "Man, you seem like a great guy. I had to let you know." I had to look myself. I used his phone so she couldn't recognize my IP address. What I found was crazy. She was all over Ben's account. And now, as I saw everything, I started to connect the dots. She wanted a new life with Ben, and this was all to set it up. The old anger rose up, but with a new component. This had nothing to do with closure. It had to do with a calculated desire to leave. This isn't some simple, easy fix. It was an all-out war, where the casualties would not just be her and I, but everyone we knew. There was nothing left to do but wait for Sarah to come home. Was her excuse good? Or was she going to be caught off guard? I would find out soon enough. But no matter what choice, that's when the world turned upside down. She would get home, I would ask where she was, and if it was anything other than this answer, things were going to go down. As I sat there, waiting, a quote popped into my head. "Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned" was not the case. It would be my time to shine, and that thought, at least, brought a smile to my face. Update 1. The drive home was a blur. Each red light felt like a personal affront. Each slow-moving car a deliberate obstacle. My mind was racing, replaying the whispered conversations, the canceled plans, the subtle digs, and then the Instagram, and a world fell apart. I pulled up to the house, went inside, and waited for Sarah. She came a few hours after I did, and that was when the problems truly began. "So how was work? Make any money?" I asked, knowing the answer that was about to come out was going to be a lie. It was great. I love seeing my clients, she said. That's when I knew it was time to bring up what I had done. I said, did you? Sarah shot me an odd look. What is going on, Mark? What is this? I can see you're upset and acting weird, she said. I'm fine, I said. Just have to show you this really cool new Instagram feed that I found. Do you mind checking it out with me? I don't see why I would. That seems to be extremely pointless. I'm very tired from what you know, working and all, Sarah shot back. There were a million things that I wanted to say, but I had to keep my composure. Now that it was all laid bare, it was time to proceed with what Lucy had mentioned. We then sat down on the couch, and that's when the problem started. This is your great friend, Ben, right? Seem to be following each other, like each other's posts, I responded. Why are you going through his social media? She asked with an uneasy tone and a shiver going through her body. This is not his social media, it's yours. Let's see what his looks like. Hey, how come I haven't seen you in pictures for a while? I feel like I'm missing out on a key piece of your life. I said, my heart was pounding. I said, let's check it out. Sarah refused. It's private. It's not something for you to get into. It became pretty clear that she wasn't going to make it easy, and maybe even to see how I was going to take it. I knew I couldn't keep her there forever, so that's what I said. You don't have to open it, but I'm going to go to the police if you don't comply. I need some sort of proof that you didn't do anything. Those words hurt. That wasn't the man I was used to seeing myself as. I had never used my body like that in my life, and it was the first time that I had ever been so forceful. Sarah did not want to comply, but seeing the expression on my face, and knowing that I was ready to go through with it, she knew there wasn't going to be another opportunity. She pulled out her phone and started to scroll. There you go. See, nothing wrong. She said, you're worrying too much. Please unlock the phone and give it to me. You are making it too difficult to believe. She knew I wasn't kidding, and that's when it all happened. After that, the world would change for me. I was running a new version of her software on one side, and then another piece of software on the other side. And that's when the truth came out and everything changed. It's time to look at that phone and see what would happen. The world as I knew it was about to change completely. And that was the moment everything was going to turn bad. Final update. As her Instagram loaded, my heart hammered against my ribs. The casual, curated version of her life that she projected to the world felt like a taunt, a deliberate contrast to the turmoil I was experiencing. Her face was pale, her hands trembled slightly as she scrolled through the feed, stopping at a photo of her and Ben, laughing and carefree, posed in front of a local landmark. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what I was about to do. Okay, Sarah, I said, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. Now show me Ben's. She hesitated, her eyes pleading with me to stop, to let it go. But the years of trust, the carefully constructed foundation of our relationship, had crumbled, leaving behind a raw, gaping wound that demanded to be exposed. It was time for the truth, however painful it might be. With trembling fingers, she unlocked Ben's Instagram and handed me the phone. I scrolled through his feed, my mind racing, searching for any sign, any clue that would confirm my worst fears. His account was private. That was the problem. But I noticed something. On my own feed, there was 50 to 60 likes each photo. Same with Sarah's. But almost every photo from her had a like from Ben. And almost every picture Ben had a like from Sarah. What was with that? Then the final nail hit. That's when I tapped a setting I didn't know was there, which was to share my screen with another phone. As the screen of her phone was mirroring to mine, that's when I noticed that my phone was already logged in. That was when I noticed her world, which had that app. She was in my accounts and was actively deleting, liking, commenting, and making me seem normal with a profile she was creating just to manipulate my emotions. I laughed, a hollow, broken sound that echoed in the small apartment. She started crying, her body shaking. I wasn't moved, though. So it's been a lie and manipulation the whole time. Do you not like me for who I am? Is this what you were hoping for? I said. It was the only thing I could think of. In what felt like a slow-motion scene in a movie, police officers bust into the room and arrest Sarah. She was screaming, yelling. She called me horrible names and all sorts of things. As they pushed her into the police vehicle, I felt a weight being lifted off my shoulder that I had been feeling for all these years. There was finally justice, and everything she said did not matter. The evidence was there, and there was no way that I was going to lose. The days turned into weeks as I went through the trial. It was horrible to go through all that, to see someone I loved be taken down like that. There was nothing I could do about it. But I had been in constant contact with Lucy, who was now one of my closest confidants. The strength she brought and the support she gave meant more to me than anyone could realize. There are those great people out there who make me want to be a better person. I came out on top, proving the wrongdoings as well as the manipulation, fraud, and all sorts of other problems. She would serve her time, and at that point, that would be something that I could not worry about anymore. Time continued to pass, and that's when I realized that the best revenge was to simply get back to my best self. There was no point in making my life about Sarah. That would only continue to make me sad. So in fact, the choice was simple. It was time to keep on moving. With that said, I began to do better. I took time to rediscover myself and invest in new friendships, which had suffered a lot because of everything that had happened. It took a while, but I was finally back on track. That's it, I thought. I'm done. It had been a ride, a crazy story filled with lies, deceit, and crazy things. That's how it all came down to, and this has been my story. Thank you for listening.